Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. Amazing news, Andy. I'm in the studio. We got the top-notch audio quality for today's podcast, which is a change because the Wednesday show has been a road show for me for going on way too long, and I'm very happy to be at home in the studio to talk about Week 6.
Nice. Yeah. It's nice to be home. You get your plants around you, your cats and whatnot, the neighborhood, the neighbors, the sea air in your hair.
Yep, exactly.
Everything is your comfy chair, the computer you like to use. So, no, it's good. And, yeah, Week 6 is upon us. Week 5 was weird in some spots, but honestly super predictable. And a couple other ones, we did a lot of recap. If you want the recap pod, that's already out. You can listen to that. We'll go through every game. Save Monday today. How many teams run by? Just
two. Packers, Steelers. We have four teams coming off, two going on.
A little more. Yeah, we have a little more football than we had last week. But, yeah, just another week of, oh, man, these primetime games, fellas. We'll get to that when we get to that. But the primetime games might be a little rough again. But I don't give a shit. Football's football.
Monday night might be fun. Thursday and Sunday, less so. Although we got some of the premier teams in action, their opponents are maybe their road opponents are a little under par. I'll be completely flat honest with you. I'm having a tough time really finding big edges this week. It was one of those where we looked at it on Sunday and I was like, it's all pretty close.
I have some totals I want to throw at you.
Yeah, I was like, I think that should be a little high. I think that should be a little lower. I think, and by Monday, the stuff that I was kind of leaning all got nudged into place. So I got pretty light action this week. This is not a big card for me. And hopefully that means that my numbers are just well dialed and I need to, and I've used some of the time to start thinking about like other things, like the arc of the next couple of weeks for some of these teams, looking at schedules and thinking about, futures markets and things like that. So I'll incorporate some of that into today's pod outside of being like, yeah, I bet that, because I just didn't play a ton this week. So
we'll have to look at we'll look at some future markets as we go. We'll look at some of the divisional prices as we go with some of these teams about to run into some different spots in the schedule. But I'll start it out with Thursday night football, and boy, howdy.
Big old number.
The big old number. The Chiefs in a weird spot with Kelsey dinged up, and obviously nobody willing to step up and say, hey, I am Spartacus. I can't say I am wide receiver 1. No, you just have a bunch of I am wide receiver 2/3. I am a dropper of balls. I'm a rookie. I'm an oft injured cast off from the Giants. Like it just it felt like this team was going to be very, very good if somebody was able to slot into that wide receiver 1 alpha role.
Yeah. And
if not, it's still a good team. And that's kind of where we're at the ladder of that. Like this team is not bad. This is definitely a very good team with a dangerous weapon, couple dangerous weapons, a great coach, but it's still some kind of questions unanswered. I'm not super excited to back this team as like a big favorite in the playoffs. If this is kind of where we're at in 15 or wherever, how many weeks we get to the playoffs. And even right now, I'm not super excited to back them as a favorite in a game that's going to probably be a bit of a weather game.
Yeah, and I guess this is a game I don't have a bet on, and the story is maybe entertaining. I don't know. This has probably happened to you before. I don't know why it happened to me now, but
it happens to a lot of guys. True.
It happens to. I mean, this is one of those type of stories. The what do you call it? The weather report started formalizing. And it was like, okay, yeah, like this is going to be our first windy game of the season. You look at the Broncos' defensive EPA, it's like, holy crap. Like they can't stop the run to save their lives. Andy Reid and the Chiefs are just going to give you 9, like a healthy dose of Pacheco, and it's probably going to work. And this is probably going to be a relatively short game. Chiefs don't defend the run very well either. And then you look at the weather and you're like, oh man, the wind is going to be 20 plus, gusts at 30 plus. Like this is just, no long field goals here. This is a get out of town with, you're home, I know, but get out of this game with the win, and get right for the next week. And so, total was sitting at 50 and a half.
Yeah, this came down hard.
This is obviously an under. Tried to bet 50 and a half. It's like getting a weird refuse. I'm like, okay, what the hell? Fine, I'm update, refresh 49. Okay. I'm like, well, if it's 49, I might as well just like try to get a plus money bet on 45 and a half. So I have to go to the drop down 48 and a half, 48 and a half. Try to fire that, refuse. And I'm like, all right, this is ridiculous. So log out, log back in, bet 49. I was like, fuck it. 49 under staked, full staked, go. And I swear to God, it was like
cancel.
It was a green. No, I swear to God, it was a green. And I was like, okay, I got 49, whatever. Like, it's fine. Go through the rest of my day, blah, blah, blah. Start looking at numbers again this morning. And I'm like, my balances didn't look right. And go to the pending, and there's no under there. So, and the total is now 47. So it's like, okay, well, all right. And now I want this to go flying over, even though I think the under is probably the right side, just out of spite, because something happened and I didn't get a bet in, even though I pretty obvious under bet.
I talked to, and I wonder.
I was interested.
I wonder if it will move yet, because this is not the part of the week where you get a bunch of public money yet. And I know that's not always going to move the market, but what if every Tom, Dick, and Harry in the entire world and every media outlet and every, all the sports books put out the stuff on Twitter and on their Instagram, and all the TikTok cappers, and everybody is showing this weather report with 30-mile-an-hour winds. And, this thing drops down to like 46 and a half. There is a point where I don't give a shit. It's two quarterbacks that have been tossing it just fine. Like Russ sucks. Yeah. But Russ in negative game states has been kind of fine this year.
Yeah.
But this offense hasn't been bad. This defense just took 9 steps back, which was, always something we talked about where, hey, this defense will not be as good as last year. No idea that we could ever get this far. Mm-hmm. And I know they've had some injuries and some guys have been in and out, and Jules missed time. But Jesus, this defense has gotten just atrocious quickly. I never saw this coming. So there's a certain buy point at this.
Yeah. So, I missed the window on the under. And so now I'm rooting for an over. And then exactly like you would not supposed to do. Now everything that I read is confirmation bias that the over was the right play all along, and I got lucky not getting an under bet in, because it's like the report for the Broncos today is not good. Frank Clark's not going. Browning, whatever that guy's name is, their best linebacker's not going. Jules still hurt. Justin Simmons is still hurt. Like, there's really not a lot of reinforcements coming for the Broncos defense anytime soon. Like, these guys are bad, and they're going to continue to be bad. Baron Browning's not playing. There's another guy too. Although DJ Jones has not been good this year, he's not playing. The Broncos aren't going to be able to generate much of a pass rush here. They're not going to be able to stop the run. So the Chiefs should have a pretty balanced attack and pretty much pick their number, I would guess. Although, it's, like you said, like Russell Wilson, when he has had windows to throw into, he's done pretty well. I think a lot of his issues against the Jets were he had some tight windows to throw into, and he, rather than try to force it, because he tries not to turn the ball over, he was taking sacks. And so I think realistically, if there's windows here against the Chiefs pass defense, maybe he takes some shots. If it's not, then this is probably Broncos run, Chiefs run, and weather might not even be much of a factor. So who knows?
It's the only issue with that is obviously it takes a little longer when you cross the road a million times, but still, they might just be lopping off again. A game I referenced a lot. Remember the Georgia national title game where it's like, hey, this game should be going faster because they're only running the ball. But when you run for 11 yards a carry, pretty soon you're in the end zone. And
Yeah.
I mean, kind of what we might see if it is more of a balanced passing attack,
Yep.
it might not be, downfield shots pressing the ball. It might be short stuff like, get these wide receivers involved in some screens, some jet sweeps. They run the ball with the wide receivers as well. It's not just going to be Pacheco and God help us CEH, but I do think they'll move the ball pretty effectively on the ground, like you're saying, against this defense. And I don't have a strong take. This number's been beat into probably where it should be on both sides. I'm pretty close on this.
Matt Porter has the same issue.
I mean, it's a primetime game.
That makes me feel better, Matt. I really don't, because I literally thought I was taking crazy pills. Okay. All right.
We are going to bet the second half, I was saying, because, it's a primetime game, but this is one I'm definitely excited to live bet once we actually see the conditions and the game plan after like 2 or 3 drives.
Yeah. First score safety in the second half, something like that.
I'm into it.
Like these win games, I feel like there's probably a misprice on safety in the win games, just because if you were a team that would otherwise attempt a 50-yard field goal, now you're going to punt and cough and corner them in that situation, maybe even a 40-yard. 48-yarder, 45-yarder. You might not have confidence that your kicker can do it in the wind, so you're more likely to pin teams. And actually, we saw a safety last week with the Broncos. Russell Wilson intentional grounding in the end zone. What a play!
It was such a bad throw. Like, I mean, what else are you going to do in that spot? You got to give it the old college try. But it's like, he's lucky that wasn't 6. Like, it was up in the air for a while.
Yes. In the back of my head, notes about the Broncos, very closely watching the relationship between Sean Payton and Russell Wilson. I know they're paying him a fortune, but at some point, Payton's not interested in a long-term rebuild. If his quarterback's going to continue to suck and suck and suck, he's going to try to kick the tires on Stidham, see what he's got there, and make a decision about the offseason, I would guess. So the vibes between those two at the end of the Jets game were bad.
They were not the immaculate vibes you want. No, they were pretty rough. And I kind of want to check the snap counts too on this, but it feels like McKinnon's getting involved a little too. I don't know actually who the third run. I think CEH is listed as the third running back, which probably makes sense and is fair because McKinnon's better as like a change of pace, scat back or whatever you want to say. But like, I'm going to go look at those snap counts while we move on to the next game and see where McKinnon's at. It feels like maybe there's some McKinnon props to be had in this one.
Yep. Okay. Well, let's move to Sunday morning, crack of dawn for me. Ravens take on the Titans. The relevant information for this game, the Ravens got bet down to 3, albeit a juicy 3, and then back up to 4. The total got bet up from 40 to 41. That is telling you that there is a little bit of optimism, I think, about the Ravens offense. There's a little bit of optimism about the Ravens in general, largely because they went to London early and they're getting their body clocks adjusted to Greenwich Mean Time. And the Titans are going to just, I guess, business as usual. I haven't heard when they're actually going to leave, but it sounds like there's going to be a disparity. Okay.
But I also read an article that said Thursday night. So I think it might just be like an overnight flight. Maybe you split the difference on those two reports. It's like a late night Thursday flight, get in on Friday morning kind of thing. I do love this. And then just when I do my morning, every Wednesday morning, the very first thing I do is I have all the stats I need. I have everything pulled together from the week before. I update my numbers.
They can't be doing red eye on Friday. Oh, no.
But I read Thursday night, so it could be a Thursday night into Friday red eye.
Oh,
if it's truly a Friday night red eye, that's horrid, and this number should be.
Oh,
I mean, I couldn't take that box score and downgrade the Ravens last week, and I put my stuff together and I said I'm pretty close on this number, and then I realized I was giving the Titans 1.4 home field. I'm like, oh no, we can't do that.
No.
And it's like, shit, I need to bet this game. So, obviously I was disappointed in not winning the bet on the Ravens last week. And I don't want to sit and make excuses, but Lamar played very well. That was the most drops we've seen from a receiving core in a game all year. Just some pretty bad luck against a team that is
Mhm.
a well-coached team that finds luck on defense. You get the block, punt, safety. You get the turnovers in very inopportune times.
Yeah, one big mistake he made.
Massive mistake. There was the problem at the end of the first half. Like,
Yeah.
this is a game that they win 9 times out of 10 and probably cover 8 times out of 10. And
Yeah,
instead,
that's
they
fair.
didn't even win outright. So I couldn't downgrade them. I love the Titans. I don't love this matchup. I think we will be able to get a little bit of pressure up front. I laid the 4.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, this is very.
And then, the travel stuff is obviously a cherry on
That's
top.
icing. I haven't seen a report on Jeffrey Simmons. He obviously matters a ton, and he got banged up in the Colts game. I haven't. I don't have a ton of hope of the. I don't have a good read on Tannehill and how this offensive line isn't like specifically unraveling the entire Titans offense.
I have Simmons as a go.
Simmons is a go. Okay. All right.
I'm like 90-10. He's a go is where I'm at.
Okay.
He matters if
Marlon
sits
Humphrey
out there.
got cooked by George Pickens, who can't create separation. That concern you at all? I guess not really. With Hopkins isn't a separator either. So
No.
Marlon Humphrey's fine against Hopkins.
I don't know what to do with that Steelers team because it's like they were like shit 98% of that game, but like both of those Pickens plays were really well drawn out plays.
They were, yeah.
And it's just like, Matt Canada is in his bag, I guess. I don't know what to do with that team, man.
Yeah.
That is such an annoying team to be on anything in any of those games on either side.
Yeah, best player on offense is Lamar Jackson. Best player on defense is Roquan Smith. Both of them are Ravens. Don't know what else to tell you. I like in general just the pop that Justice Hill was showing you before he fumbled. Like he had some really hard, good runs before maybe losing his confidence or losing his role because of the fumble. I don't know.
This is the time of the year, Drew, where it's like, here's a bunch of running backs that weren't really going to have a lot of snaps early in the season or at all this year, where it's like somebody got hurt or they're just good, or the guy in front of them, like Derrick Henry, is getting older. Tajay Spears is another good example. This is where we like find all the good running backs that by the end of the year, it's just like, oh no, that's a good running back. And Hill's been around a little, but obviously it wasn't supposed to be the Justice
he had some
Hill
juice
show.
Though. Like he had some pop.
But no,
he was making some moves. He broke some tackles.
Like, sometimes you get an upgrade. It's like
shifty.
I like this guy better than
shifty. Okay. Yeah, I think I honestly don't think that they're at a deficit absent Dobbins with Hill. He's good. Okay. I haven't played it just because I didn't get the best of it, so I was willing to pass.
No, that bugged me too, but I'm like, I think this is moving. There were some rec books that were up to 4.5.
Do you have an inclination to play any Titans team total under if this is an opportunity for 17.5 Titans team total under?
I don't, because I show a little value on this over as well.
Okay.
I think the Ravens offense really shows up, but it's not like this Titans offense. I'm higher on them than the market, so I have this as an over as well.
Okay. Let's move to the 1:00 starts with Washington at Atlanta. Desmond Ridder answered all his critics with his performance against the Texans. He distributed the ball well. He operated like a professional quarterback. There are still probably more questions that will be asked of him this season because he still has only ever won games at home. I think of his 9 starts now, 5 of them have been home and they've been wins and covers. 4 have been on the road and they've been losses and not covers. It's just off the top of my head. I'm not tracking that carefully. But Desmond Ridder and company take on a Commanders team that has extra rest, but was just kind of got their pants pulled down by the Bears. The defense's question marks coming out of that game for the Commanders were massive. Their secondary looks very beatable, and their strength of their defense, the D-line, wasn't able to generate much pressure against the Bears O-line and Justin Fields, even though he had like 3 seconds to throw that whole game. And it was pretty clear which side of the field they were continuing to throw to because he only has one good receiver. So I if you want to bet the Commanders, have at it because you hate Ritter. That's fine. I think this is probably Falcons or pass. And I think the Falcons can probably get it done. And, the pressure that the Bears got against the Commanders, I think, was noteworthy. That Bears pass rush sucks. And they got after it.
Dick.
Yeah, actually, you know what?
Crazy that I was going to say, I'm disappointed.
Yeah. No.
And I think we knew that Forbes is struggling as a young man, and like the secondary has some issues, but we always thought the pass rush would make up for it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's disappointing to see what they put out there for a defensive product. Again, short week, tough. That usually benefits defense going up against a short week game plan. I'm much, much more disappointed in what we saw from a game plan offensively from Bieniemy. I mean, just the whole coaching staff, Bieniemy, Rivera, and Del Rio, and everybody has all this experience. And then you got Eberflus, Getsy, and a defensive coordinator that isn't even with the team.
5 minutes on the job. Yeah.
You don't have a DC. So like a team with all that experience should be at an advantage in a short week as far as a game planning standpoint. They looked befuddled by this mighty Bears defense that, like you said, they haven't had a pass rush all year hardly. They were getting home. They were getting pressure. They don't have a secondary that can cover, mostly because of attrition and injuries.
Yes.
And you weren't taking advantage of that by getting targets to your top two receivers. You were slinging it to wide receiver 5. The entire thing stunk. And I don't know if that's going to be an ongoing thing, but it's not a team I really feel like trusting on the road. Even against like we've said, the Falcons are not good, but they're not bad. They're the team that if they are better than a team, you're going to beat them, especially at home. If they're worse than a team and it's on the road, you might want to lay it against them.
Yeah. I count 8 wins on their schedule, and maybe 1 is on the road. It's a team that I think you back at home, you fade on the road. For the Commanders point I was going to make, and all your commentary, I couldn't agree with you more. It feels like they're not asking their wide receivers to run especially good routes. Like they're not creating separation, but it's just like what are they like?
So dumb when you say it out loud, but I 100% know what you mean.
It's Terry McLaurin could fucking cook these guys, get them into running some creative stuff. What are we doing? But at the same time, like, I feel like our friend Dr. Eric Eager, I haven't read his book yet, and I'm going to do a book tangent in just a minute. I haven't read his book yet, but it's about the analytics of football, right? I assume the chapter that is like sacks or quarterback stat doesn't even have any text. It's just a picture of Sam Howell.
Yeah. I'm excited for that one too. Obviously, we have why can't I think of our poker player's name with the
Ed Miller? Yeah, Ed Miller and Matt Davidow. Matthew Davidow. Yeah. I've they were very, very nice to send me a PDF copy. I love it. It feels like it was written exactly. What's that?
Is that a deep dive book club this offseason?
Ooh, that's a great idea. Yeah, for sure. The follow up to The Logic of Sports Betting by Ed Miller and Matthew Davidow is, I feel like it was written specifically for our audience. Like it is like it's in the first 50 pages. It answered like a handful of questions by people who are behind the scenes building products for sports books. Yeah. And it's like, okay, like, thank you. Like I was wondering about that. This makes sense to me. Like it is the nice part about very useful information.
Yeah. What the experience they have now, especially being on that second, that other side of the counter, having the new domain knowledge. But it's fun too, because I haven't gotten into it yet. I'm hoping I'm going to sit down. Everyone should be asleep when I get home. I'm going to sit down and get into that one tonight. But I really, really did enjoy the first one. There was a lot of like, should I read this? Should I read this chapter? Like, this is shit I know. But and then you start to read it anyway. And he does such a good job of explaining things in like better ways that it's hard to even explain what I'm saying. It's like he explains it in a different, more concise way that makes you think about a core tenet of like sports betting in a different way that kind of helps your thinking along. He just does a really good job of being clear, concise, and getting the right points across. I like it a lot.
Yeah, the beginning of this new book is a very dry topic, but
No
it's
spoilers.
written. It's I won't say anything about it, but it's quite dry. But it's also written with like a vernacular that's really like it's a fun, good, quick read. It's got some value.
One more, and if you want dry, baby, you've got it. The new Gross Gene book, like basically he just goes over perfect play for every casino carny game, and by carny games I mean like Mississippi Stud, deuces, 3-card poker, all the side games, and like says if this is the pay table, here's like the anyone who does video poker understands what I mean by like the hierarchy of like here's what you do on the first bet. If it's trips or higher, you do this. If it's king 10 and a kicker higher, and I mean it is dry, but the interstitials where he's actually like making commentary on the games is so funny. He's a really good writer. I enjoyed that. There was a couple games I skipped because it's just like, they don't have this here and I would never play this, but it's interesting. And it's all like, here's how you get to like a -3 hold for you. Like the house still has like a 3% hold, but it's like, at least you're not, the donkeys are losing 15% on every dollar. So here's how you get there. Back to football though.
Yeah, I'm not going to play this game, although I might use Falcons in contests just because
I really want to watch this though. Yeah. I want to have this on a screen because this is going to answer a lot of questions of like, did Desmond Ridder cook because there was no pass rush and it was a weak ass secondary, or is he actually starting to get it?
Yeah,
and I know if he's not as good this week, we can't just say, all right, that was a one day, but like, I really want to see how he's going through his progressions, keeping his eyes up, looking guys off.
I'm excited to see how Art Smith doesn't use Van Jefferson.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll be active. We'll see.
No, I know. I'm not. That was a.
Going forward, yeah, I know what you're saying.
Okay, let's look at Minnesota Chicago, which is an interesting one. Been a lot of commentary on this, and I think it's been pretty similar. And I don't have strong disagreements with what I've heard and people's point of view in the betting space.
I'm annoyed by this game, Drew. I'll let you start it.
Yeah, so the Minnesota Vikings are at the Chicago Bears. Andy can probably regale you with many games in his history as a Vikings watcher because of the locale of the Vikings going to Chicago and just pooping their pants. I don't know why it tends to happen, but it does. And the Bears are coming off of a season-defining win. I guess that's kind of the way it's being couched. It was the ending of a 14-game losing streak, right? So it was
a positive, right?
It was a positive, but like let's cool our jets here a little bit. The degree to which the Bears are looking at a 2-game sample of Justin Fields and getting a little bit over themselves about it is like, okay, guys, you need to take a cold shower. And there is something to be said about the Vikings and their ability to create really good offense in the absence of Justin Jefferson in that Chiefs game, that I think, you can talk me into the Vikings aren't a huge downgrade in the interim while we wait for Jefferson to get healthy. They have a deep secondary. They have a deep wide receiving core, young breakout potential for Jordan Addison, and Hawkinson is not being utilized as much as he could be in exactly this type of a situation. KJ Osborne is a fine player, and the offensive line is giving Kirk Cousins a ton of time here. So I'm not exactly sure why the Vikings are taking a big old step backwards offensively, particularly given the Bears don't really have a defense. And I kind of surprised that this has not ticked back up to 3 because, once it came off of 3 with the news that Jefferson was going on the IR, I was like, okay, well, you want to buy Vikings? A lot of people wanted to buy Vikings last week. They were probably right. They didn't win. Like, you want to buy them even cheaper? Here you go. And there hasn't really been as much of a move as I expected. I see it's -2.5, -20 at Chris, but like, they're still looking for Vikings money.
Yeah.
That phrase, I'm telling you. So I'm probably out of this game. It just doesn't have good vibes. And maybe it's the other side of the ball. Maybe it's the Vikings defense doesn't match up well against the Bears. I don't know. I will tell you one interesting thing about the Bears. Seth Walder, who does some pretty good data science for ESPN, published his tackle pass block win rate and double team chart, which kind of gives you an idea of, are tackles doing well, or are they getting help, or are they doing well without help, right? The top left is Bears tackle Braxton Jones. What? Huh? Like, I mean, maybe. But it didn't. Is he on another team? Like, I didn't understand how the top left was that player.
I didn't. Yeah. So Darnell Wright, the rookie they drafted, he's been pretty good at right tackle. Like they didn't completely screw up this draft, which obviously they did a pretty good job of trading back, I thought. But like the fact that they were able to trade back and that they have an offensive lineman that's looking kind of good, that's super hopeful for the future. This is still a bad team, and it is. I do struggle with what this defense put on the field, because if you look at the last few weeks, the run defense has been better, but the pass defense has still been, very much below average, like bottom third, bottom quarter of the league. That it's tough because there are some teams that are so far below them and are really, really bad. Washington being one of them in coverage. But I mean,
sure.
The Bears EPA per play defense against the just drop back EPA per play has been really rough. They've gotten a little better on the run. They have been able to defend the run a little better, but again, I wonder how much noise there is in some of that, given the game state of some of their games. Maybe you need to wash out some of that garbage time too. So I like the Vikes, but it's a very, very, very annoying kind of spot we're in with Minnesota, because we're in the opposite bizarro world from last year.
Yeah.
We know this team is much better than the record indicates. They have had probably the most EPA lost on turnovers. Out of anybody, just based on where they were and how many, and obviously the 99-yard pick six and things like that. The fact is the turnovers have put them, from W's into L's in some of these games they should have won. They could be 4-1, and that's usually a bye team. But then we get this awful spot for it where we've never really seen this offense without Jefferson. We don't know that Addison and Osborne are ready to take this step forward. We don't know that they can just rely on Hawk or go to more 12 personnel and have him running routes out of heavier sets and make that work. I don't know. We don't know. And then you add in the fact that it's going to be outdoors. It's going to be weathery. It's a divisional spot they've struggled in the past. It's probably a hard pass game for me. If I was going to bet the Vikings, and God help me, like if they're going to win this game, I don't think they win a game 14-10. It's basically like give me the Vikings team total or something.
Okay. The point where I was going with the Braxton Jones thing was so he's in the top left. I didn't know Braxton Jones was on the Bears, I'll be honest. And I was like, and so I looked it up and I'm like, okay, he's played 2 games and then he's been on IR since week 3. So it's like, okay, so what are the other Bears O-line grading at? And honestly, like across the board, the Bears O-line is grading pretty well. So like there may be something going on where they're actually good at coaching up some of these offensive linemen. And I think it's worth kind of keeping track of what's going on with that unit in general. I will note that Justin Fields is top 6 so far this season in pressure percentage on his dropbacks. Albeit he is holding on to the ball the longest of any quarterback in the NFL with 2.7 seconds per pass attempt, which is an absolute eternity in the pocket. So he is getting a lot of time to operate, and it still took until week 5 for him to have anything positive happen from a passing standpoint. So I'm not sold really that Fields is turned the corner in any way, shape, or form. But I am noting that the Bears' offensive line might be better than I realize.
Yeah, and it's not a good Minnesota pass rush. Like they have relied on the blitz a little. I know they've got Tomlin's back, and like it's a better front, but it's not a good pass rush.
Mm-hmm.
And there are reports and people and these Twitter scouts, the YouTube video guys, and there's positives about Fields we're hearing. It's like he looked better. He was making progressions. He was going through his reads. His eyes were up. It's why he didn't have any pressure on him. Like, it's the same thing we said about Ritter in this last week.
Sure.
I'm just not sure how much I can trust it. It's never black and white. It's never Ritter sucks. He should be out of the league. He was only good because the Texans secondary sucked. It's never completely all one thing. It's black. It's not black and white. It's gray. We just have to figure out what percentage of gray we're looking at there. If Ritter's actually good, if a blocking Cal.
A lot of game left, buddy. It's still 6th inning. All right. So the other funny thing about diving into the Bears and trying to figure out who they are and what they are offensively, they are looks like they're going to be down their top 3 running backs. Khalil Herbert, Roshan Johnson, and Travis Homer all likely out. I guess that means it's Tariq Cohen time. I assume
is your best running back.
Oh, Fields. Oh, yeah. Okay.
They went
Tariq Cohen's not on the team anymore. I'm just making a joke.
No, they should. I thought he got picked up somewhere this year.
Did he? Oh, maybe it was just.
I feel like somebody put him on camp or in a training practice.
Cal got banned. Oh man,
he is a Carolina Panther. I laid down the hammer.
All right. Tariq Cohen is in Lico. Okay. All right. So this was a stay away. I really don't. I guess we'll learn something. Big bet to the under here, which I think is expectation of weather. Although the last time I checked, there was buzz on Sunday, Monday that there was going to be a couple inches of rain potentially during the game. I think that's not looking likely anymore. So it's like I think we're in kind of October transition weather, windy, nasty type of stuff. And I don't know, maybe that makes this a heavier running game, but I mean, it's still that I would expect the Vikings should be able to pass on the Bears, because I'm not expecting Jalen Johnson or Eddie Jackson to go, and the rest of the Bears secondary is rough.
This was one I was looking into because I don't think the weather's going to be as bad. And I'm going to wait. This would be like a Sunday bet. If we see some steam to this over and the weather's looking good, I will ride that steam. I will ride that rail and take this over 44 and a half, even 45 if it's up high and it's looking like no rain, light winds kind of thing, because it has all the makings of both offenses having the advantage. And if the Bears are leading and they don't have running backs, like the salt is away, you're just going to give it back to a good offense, a good passing offense repeatedly. So Minnesota team total over, the game over if we get better weather news. And we're on to Cincinnati. I've
rewatched the Bengals Cardinals game twice now. I'm assuming you have as well. Your Joe Burrow thoughts, please.
I almost need a chart for this. So Joe Burrow he's at 100 and coming into camp. We're happy because he's had appendectomies and injuries, and he's finally getting into camp. Oh, joke's on us. Hurt. Misses all the camp. Comes in week 1. Worst case scenario, he's had very little prep, playing pretty good defense, if I recall.
Yeah.
One
of the better ones, maybe the best.
I think it was in Cleveland even.
Yep.
Looks like hot garbage.
Wet weather.
Wasn't a great weather day. Looks like just hammered dog shit. Improves over the course of the week. Injuries still feeling better. Easier opponent. Another divisional spot. Looks a lot better in week 2. Comes out late in that game though.
Yeah.
Re-aggravate.
Yeah.
We had the re-aggravation of that injury. I don't know if that gets talked enough about enough as far as we just treat this as like one long injury, but he was good in that Ravens game and then re-aggravated it later. The Rams game was nothing to write home about from either team. Looked bad again versus against the Titans on the road there. Just not very mobile. And then we're starting to see him look good again. Obviously last week he was running faster, and the Higgins injury certainly isn't helping. running some scrambles. Like you said, Drew's theory about him working around the injury a lot better. It seems like, and we both pointed that out on that long throw he threw off the opposite leg. Like he just launched, that was all arm and like torso apparently.
Yeah.
And he looked healthier. So if we're at a spot where he's able to get the ball with zip to Jamar Chase, who obviously the Cardinals just didn't have the coverage unit for, he's good. Higgins, we saw some practicing late last week. That's kind of an up in the air. I'm calling Higgins 50-50. A broken rib is nothing to sneeze at.
No.
In fact, it hurts like hell if you sneeze when you have a broken rib. That is super.
So you're saying a broken rib is nothing to sneeze with?
No, it's a little of both.
Yeah.
But Higgins, maybe it'd be great if he could go. If he doesn't, either way, I did. This is another one. I laid this. I pointed this out with the game after we had the game before the bye.
Yeah.
Really, really nice job by Clint Hurt putting together that defensive game plan where, hey, our secondary sucks and is injured, so let's just blitz instead and put a team that is very susceptible to pressure, blitz, and a quarterback who hasn't been able to handle it. He can't beat our secondary over the top, number one, because he has shitty wide receivers. And they refused to throw to their tight end who they acquired. And number two, if we put him on his ass, he's certainly not beating us over the top. Really good job by the Seahawks. The issue here is if you're blitzing, you're leaving Jamar Chase one-on-one with, I don't know.
Tariq Woolen.
Yeah, like one of these young, there's some decent youth, but it's still not somebody I'm excited with putting him one-on-one on the outside against. So I don't love this matchup, the Seahawks secondary, the Seahawks pass rush. I mean, this is a team that you should have some success against pass rushing. Again, they weren't doing it with four. A lot of it was with the blitz. If they can't get pressure with their front four, it might be a long day for the Seahawks secondary. So I took there was a 2.5 at like 113 today. I ended up playing that.
Okay.
Here's the thing. So I don't know if Witherspoon's great in coverage yet.
Yeah, I know we don't.
He is an excellent tackler.
Opportunistic pick. Who had the pick on Jones? It was Witherspoon, right?
Yeah, he did. But I mean, it was just a garbage throw.
Witherspoon
was an excellent tackler. He is great. I think he's been great with pressing some of these.
Yeah.
So you're playing up on some of these big receivers. He's fine with that, but like I'm not so sure he's great in coverage yet. At the NFL level, he's very good. He's going to be good, and I loved how they used him up in the box a lot. I'd like to see him as that's what sucks is and we'll see who's injured and who's hurt, but they used him at the nickel spot like that and got him to play up in the box a lot, and that's how he was effective. I don't want to see him outside anymore if I'm Seattle.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I want to put him outside on Chase.
No, absolutely not. Use him as the star. Use him as the Jalen Ramsey. Yeah.
Let's get this guy 8 sacks this year.
Yeah.
He's amazing up in the box.
Yeah. Okay. Those are all fair points. I do think that the Bengals rush offense is dead. Dead on arrival.
Mixon isn't good.
Mixon's not good. The offensive line isn't winning their run block reps, and Seattle's run defense is good. So it's going to be up to Burrow throwing it 50 times again. And if Chase can beat the Seattle secondary, then the Bengals win. If he can't, then this is probably a field goal-ish type of game, 16-13-ish, because I personally like Big Lou matching up against Geno. I think that, I like how Lou is starting to utilize his safeties and starting to kind of figure out who can do what and how to get those guys up to speed to replace the guys they lost. They clearly missed Bates, no doubt. The Bengals defense hasn't been good this year at all. But their front four has had moments. I think their front four can get wins against the beaten up Seattle O-line. Don't have a strong feeling about Cross and Lucas coming back and being, big time, ready to play, game shape, if they even are available. And I think you can beat up on this O-line. And honestly, like Seattle's offense against the Giants, did you rewatch that by any chance? Whew.
Yeah.
Like that was rough. They had one big play by Walker and one big play catch and run by Fant, and that was basically it. So I think that I think that, and again, like he didn't practice today, so maybe the joke's on me here. But I think if Chidobe Awuzie is available to match up against DK Metcalf, I think that the Cincinnati Bengals D matches up well against the Seahawks, and so I played the under here. I think 45.5 is a fair bet. This has gotten bet up in the early portion of the market, and 45.5 was my number. So it's come down. So I'm ahead of this. And I guess here's my question for you, Andy. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Final question on this game. I don't have anything. I don't have any more points on the under. I think I'd still like to see. I'd like to see Burrow beat a better secondary before I really crown his ass. That said, if Burrow and the Bengals win, you like laying 3, which is kind of current market price, better than. I guess no, there's 2.5s out there. Do you like laying 2.5, or do you just want to take Bengals plus 422 to win the AFC North?
Are we doing this again? It's a wide open division.
I mean, it's 422. That's a huge number.
I know we got like 3.5 last year. We did.
They have the worst of their performances behind them, and if they win this game, they're 3-3.
They have some easy games ahead too. They can win. Shit. You might have
their schedule's tough. It's not easy, but it's they could get back into this.
They have some very winnable games. Oh man, you got it's like the porn star lady meme. Like, oh fuck, you're gonna make me bet the Bengals again.
Yeah.
I might be there. I might be there with you. That's
422. A big number.
Somebody asked about their run defense. Bang average. Like middle of the pack. It's been okay, but it's been weird game states as well.
Surely.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And then Charles Cross did practice. Abe Lucas can't come off the IR for like 2 more weeks yet.
Okay.
So he's out till like Arizona, I think.
Okay.
Just the IR is not based on weeks, it's based on games. So if you get put on the IR before a bye, right, or if the bye falls in, I think you miss 5 weeks is how it works. I could be wrong on that. If somebody correct me on that, I feel it just sounds dumb when I say it. So it might be our buy point. It might be our buy point on here. So San Fran.
I do worry a little bit about the Bengals run D. I'll admit that I do. All right, I'm not gonna click submit. I just wanted to talk about it.
Parlay it with Niners to win the NFC.
That's not a bad call. Yeah. You want to set this one up?
I mean, what are you going to do with this if we don't know the quarterback? Obviously, we saw the drop down from Deshaun Watson to DTR is massive. If it's PJ Phillip Walker, it's not as massive, but it ain't that much better. He's a couple points better than, Dorian Thomas Robinson or whatever, but it's still markedly worse than what you were getting from Watson. Was starting to look half decent. I don't understand what's going on with his shoulder. It seemed like he was on the right track. Matt Foley to get back, get back and start this, coming off the bye. I thought everything was going to be fine. I floated a theory that he said, fuck this. I don't want to play the Niners. I'm still kind of hurt. Like, I don't want Bosa to do something to me. It's huge. Like, this was preseason slated to be a pretty good matchup where a tough team from the NFC West was going to have to come face one of the best defenses and an offense that we were excited about preseason. And now, instead of Deshaun Watson and Nick Chubb, it's Jerome Ford and the star of the XFL Houston Roughnecks, PJ Walker, and that makes a big difference. So I don't know. I don't have a lot to say on this other than what do you think of this number, and do you think it's a midpoint or like a 3/4 point? If it were announced that Phillip Walker's starting right now, what's this number adjust to when they reopen? Like an Ocho? That's a lot to lay on the road, man.
Isn't it? Yeah, 8.5.
Even
yeah,
it's still so much on the road. Oh shit.
Oh yeah, PJ.
Oh shit. Bulletin board. We both clicked at the same time.
Okay, so I mean, my takes on this game are a little complicated. I personally think that for this particular game, the quarterback question doesn't matter. And the reason is pretty straightforward. The Browns have one chance to win, and it is playing from a positive game state. If they get into a negative game state, it doesn't matter if PJ Walker or Deshaun Watson is the quarterback. They're not coming back on the Niners, in my opinion. And if DTR was the quarterback, then we would say, well, the likelihood of them getting into a negative game state just went up by a lot.
Yeah, why are we playing this game?
Yeah. Yes. But I think PJ Walker can do a decent job of avoiding the key mistakes, the key turnovers. And I think the Browns can craft a run-centric approach to try to do a little ball control, lean into their strength. I think if there is any weakness in the Niners, it's their run D. It's not a very strong, it's not a very big weakness. It's not a glaring weakness. They obviously have really, really good players at every level of their defense. But I think there is room for the Browns to do something offensively with a well-crafted, running-focused game plan. I also think that the chances that the Browns defense can give us the worst of Brock Purdy are real. The Browns have been the best team outside of the Niners at allowing separation so far this season, which is a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
And they've been one of the most disruptive teams in terms of generating pressure. Myles Garrett in particular, and his ability to line up in multiple locations, including interior D-line, has been a revelation. And Jim Schwartz has the keys to kind of really, really upsetting what Kyle Shanahan's plan A is when he has Purdy drop back. I know Purdy looked pretty good operating out of the pocket last week. And that was, they were up against also a very, very good, violent pass rush. But I think Myles Garrett specifically could be the deciding factor here with his ability to generate interior pass pressure. And Brock Purdy also never played in a bad weather game. We don't know how he's going to throw it in wind and wet conditions. I don't know if they will be windy and wet, but if there is even my opinion on wind, there are some stadiums where 20 miles an hour doesn't really spook me. And then there's Cleveland where 15 miles an hour spooks me because of the kind of a general alignment of the stadium and the fact that Cleveland as a city sees 15 for whatever reason at Cleveland Stadium, it tends to be exaggerated or worse. So I think that's kind of worth keeping in mind, is that this could be a bad weather game and that Myles Garrett could be disruptive and that the Niners may not look crisp at all offensively.
I get what you're saying, but let's say it's a bad weather game and
sure.
God help us, both teams have to rely on the running back. I mean,
sure.
I'm still probably going to take the scheme that's focused around Christian McCaffrey and featuring Christian McCaffrey than the Brown scheme with Jerome Ford and some Kareem Hunt sprinkled in. I don't think that the Niners are going to just go in with this game plan that says hey, let's go in with a game plan that strictly relies on, if Myles Garrett disrupts us, we probably end up having a really bad game.
Yeah.
I feel like they've got to be at least a half step ahead of us.
Yeah, probably. But at the same time, I have no
interest in this one.
So the rushing defense for the Browns, I'm taking away turnovers, so you're not getting credit for creating fumbles. Yeah. Get rid of the fourth downs, so you're not getting penalized for giving up the 4th and 1 sneaks. The Browns rush defense is godly. Minus 0.2 EPA per rush in 5. They played 4 games so far because they're coming off a bye. But that's all-time type of number in terms of rush defense. I think also, by the way, Christian McCaffrey getting popped a couple times in that game Sunday, and now having to travel. Like, I mean, is he going to have his best stuff in this game? A little slower field, a little sloppier conditions. I'm not real spooked about the Niners beating me if this turns into a trench warfare, ground attack type of deal.
Yeah.
I guess here's the long way of saying
a little pushback on that.
Here's
atrocious against the run against the Ravens.
Who was the Browns?
Just for that week, if you separate, and I know they didn't play. If you don't play, they didn't play one of these weeks. But if you separate and just looks at weeks 4 and 5, the Browns, because I just wanted to see how they compared against that. Again, we've talked about this. Mixon doesn't scare anybody. We haven't seen a scary run game from the Steelers. The opponents matter. Like, I think the Browns' run defense is very much above average. Yeah. I don't know if it's godlike. Like, they got kind of exposed versus the Ravens.
And the
game
the Niners in week 4 played Arizona, right?
Yep.
The Browns played the Ravens. The Browns had a better rushing defense in terms of EPA per play than the Niners did in week 4.
Sure. I'm looking at week 4 and 5. I have the Niners 12th over that 2-week span.
Okay. Well, week 5 was they get the benefit of the
Dallas
of the Tony Pollard turnover.
I took out turnovers.
Oh, you took them out? Okay. Well, whatever the case is, they played well last week.
We're talking so much about a game I'm not betting.
It's an
interesting game, though.
I know we've come a long way. And my general takeaway here is Browns money line or pass. I think fuck the points. If it goes at 8 and 8.5, I'm not like, oh yeah, I got the price I wanted on the Browns, but the points. I literally think the Browns have one of two things happens. Their defense is disruptive. They can win on the ground, or they get into a negative game state. Purdy's fine in the conditions. The game plan Shanahan brings in beats these guys, and in which case, I mean, Niners can pick their score, right?
And then you're happy you didn't lay the 10 cents.
Yeah, you're happy you didn't lay the 10 cents. And honestly, you're getting right now. You're getting what plus 350-ish. What's the money line right now? Plus 250-ish. You're getting plus 250 right now. So you're telling me that I have to have what's one over 3.5?
I'd consider the 8.5
more than a 28% chance that the Browns defense really makes this. I'm betting that there's more than a 28% chance that this is the game that Brock Purdy comes back to earth a little bit.
It's going to be one of the tougher defenses he faces. There's not a lot of tough games on this Niners schedule, man.
There's not.
If they don't cough up one of these bad games, they're going to be like 15-2.
Well, see, that's the thing is, like, for all my Niners positive stuff I have in my book, I kind of want them to lose this one and just kind of get the loss out of the way and move on. Because I don't want them. I don't want them to be like I don't want them to be like 14-0 and then lose late in the season and have people be like, oh well, like the Eagles last year, like losing to the Saints. The Cowboys and the Saints cooked them on all the awards, and it sucked. And I'd like the Niners to get one out of the way and then just run home.
Truck the rest of the year. Truck. I will push back a little on the laying it or taking the money line. Final thought here is just I would consider the 8.5 with PJ. Maybe he gives you a lot better chance at a backdoor. I don't think it's competitive, but I mean, the Niners have kind of laid down a little at certain times in the second half, and getting a soft, a couple soft drives when you're down 3 scores late. I mean, just Robinson doesn't have it. If it's Phil Walker, maybe. That said, I still. I mean, it might have to be 9 before I consider that. So no thanks.
Okay. All right, that's not crazy. And in fact, I guess what do I like the most? Browns money line at absurd price. Next most would be Browns plus whatever the bottom is if PJ Walker goes. What I like the least is Browns with Deshaun Watson in like the 6 range. Like, no
chance on that.
We'll save some commentary for Watson for another day because we've got to keep moving here. And we'll save some commentary for Brock Purdy MVP for another day. But I have one more
That's
comment.
a good halftime topic.
Yeah, one more comment for you. I may be succumbing to a little bit of like hopefulness here because I'm expecting that the Niners will stay East and have an all-timer prep for the Vikings next week. And I would love for the market to just take a nice cold shower on the Niners and be like, wow.
If this were like a
20-6
game where nobody looked particularly good, they had a couple of people forget where the turnovers were. Like, they had 7 red zone possessions and, they had 2 turnovers and 3 field goals or something like that. It's like, they weren't that good last week versus the Browns. And you get a good buy spot on them after they stay east. Excuse me, if they do the West Virginia place, maybe they go to Youngstown State. Yeah, that's interesting. So, all right, New Orleans, Houston.
Real quick, Flash asking about plus 410 Super Bowl. I think that's probably a fine bet. I think the Niners are the most likely team to be in the Super Bowl, and I think they'll probably be a pick 'em against whoever comes out of the AFC. So that's a fine play. I mean, I like isolating. If you want to bet the Lions, I'd like isolating them NFC. If you want to bet the Niners, I like betting them Super Bowl. And I think realistically, it's one of those 2 teams that's probably going to rep unless the Eagles catch fire in the playoffs, which is possible. But
those two teams play each other in a few weeks. That'll be fun.
Yep. Okay.
New Orleans, Houston. I'm a Saints guy. I've kind of been higher on the market than other people, I guess, in this one. This is a tough probably stay away from me though too. It's a road spot. Carr looked better last week. I wanted your opinion on that. That's my only question is like, do you think Derek Carr looked better? And by better, I mean healthier, where his shoulder wasn't limiting him last week. It was a fucked box score, right? Because they gave him so many short fields. And that offense isn't like a 34-point offense. That was a pick 6 and some short fields and a team that was never, converted. The Patriots were 1 of 14 on third downs.
Yeah.
And 3 of the first downs they only got 8 first downs. 3 were by penalty. Like they were not moving the ball over. So the Saints just had a trillion shots at it and a bunch of them from short fields. The Saints offense is not fixed by any means. It's still a very good defense. As said, we've seen the Texans take a little step back against a team that has a CB1. Obviously, we have Lattimore, a team that has a little bit of pass rush.
Yeah, you're right.
The Saints pass rush isn't great, but that's not like the Falcons are either. It's predicated on 1 or 2 guys having a good day against a beat-up offensive line. I don't think Tunsil practiced. I'm going to have to double-check that. That's kind of an ongoing thing, and they're missing some other pieces. It's still crazy. And this is the ultimate quarterback sacks or a quarterback stat.
Is it ever?
Just never gets sacked.
Is it ever?
So good at sack avoidance.
I'm glad you brought that up because I did a deep dive on that. And CJ Stroud is one of the top 10 pressured quarterbacks this season. His time in the pocket is 2.3, which is on the lower end. And he has now 3 straight weeks of not getting sacked despite meaningful pressures. Which is crazy. So CJ Stroud is literally like, okay, I got to get the ball out of my hands, go into the check down. He's probably making some of the decisions about what he wants to do just because he knows he's not going to have a ton of time, and he may not be progressing, but he's playing fine, particularly with a positive game state. And so I think realistically, if the Texans can generate a lead here, then, and I'm not really scared about the Saints pass rush, then I think the Texans can win. But I agreed 100% that Derek Carr was better last week than he was the week before. It was by margin. And this is now 3 weeks since the original AC injury. So he should be about there if, it's kind of a normal injury.
And we've had a little more time to work Kamara into the offense. Like it should be an offense that's getting better.
Yeah, it should be.
Still not a team I trust on the road.
No, and I think the market is maybe a hair low on how they're rating the Texans, but not so much that I'm like dying to play them at this price. Like it's just that's not good enough price. So I passed on the game. I think Texans are alive.
I have a Houston -3 and New Orleans about an average team. So if you give me a 1.5 of home field, you're ending up at about a 1.5, and that's what the line is.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing really on this total either.
I think
The
this game
Saints
is a coin
aren't-
flip, and I think the total is
Yeah,
a coin flip.
the
Should
total's
probably be
probably a
43.
coin flip,
Yeah, it should be probably 43. One of these teams is going to win 23-20. That's kind of where I read. That's kind of where I read it.
Yeah, this if the Saints defense shows up in the road, this game probably stays in the 30s.
Yeah,
Be the only bet I could feel good about taking in this one is an under, and I might have some PTSD after trying to bet an under 40 last week, and the Saints put up 34. Nothing like a pick six right off the bat and an under just makes your ass itch. God, I hate that. God, what a terrible segue into an ad read. But memories are made.
I do need
when
a
you're
place to
there.
put my ass for a game that I
Yeah.
want to go to this weekend.
Memories are made when you're there for live NFL action. And when you need tickets, Ticketmaster's got you covered as the official marketplace of the NFL. Obviously, lots of games left, lots of good primetime games. We got Thanksgiving coming up in about 5-6 weeks here.
Yeah.
More than that, I don't know. But their interactive seat map, 360 degree previews of your section. Yeah. Make sure you find the best view. And obviously, getting in on game day is a breeze with the mobile tickets you have. So check it out, Ticketmaster.com/NFL. And we're back for the second half.
I just used Ticketmaster, Andy.
Yeah,
got my Breeders' Cup tickets.
Oh, I did too, actually. I forgot about that.
There we go.
I got some. So I don't know if there's horse guys in here. Maybe I could probably just look at this and like type in the seating capacity. I feel like Santa Anita has like 3 times the seating capacity of Del Mar.
It's big. It's not that big though.
Like the tickets were a lot more reasonable though.
Oh yeah.
I could not find it. I paid more for standing room only at Del Mar than I did for a bleacher ticket at Santa Anita.
That sounds right. And
I'm excited. I'm excited to get out there.
Yeah, it's a crazy beautiful view. It's a lot of fun, and you can't see it's not at Del Mar you pay a premium because it's Del Mar and you get the ocean view, and it's kind of there's a little bit more dedicated fan base for Del Mar. It is smaller. I think probably about 2/3.
It still feels like a cathedral compared to Canterbury. Obviously, it's a really cool park. So
yeah.
And then I did forget to mention this too. Houston, probably not a bad teaser at home. You ever have this stupid feeling? And this feels like a dumb heuristic.
Sure.
But I've teased Houston like 3 weeks in a row. It feels like.
Oh,
and it feels like it. Yeah, no, but it feels dumb in my head to say like, oh, am I pushing my luck with this team? No, they just play close games because of the style of ball they've been playing lately. So I guess I'm fine with it. I'm probably going to put Houston in one of my higher end teasers for the week again.
No, that checks out.
And then
entirely.
And truthfully, if the Niners, if it's Walker and it goes to like 8.
You're gonna tease the Niners.
I'm probably gonna tease
the
Niners.
That's
too.
fine.
It's gonna be awful hard not.
That's fine.
That is the worst of the 4. Is a home, a road favorite down from 7.5, 8. But
when the total's 30, what's the total gonna be with Walker? 36. Like it's gonna be tiny. The total is gonna be so low. I don't think you got to worry about it. Those points are gonna be pretty valuable.
Minshew Mania returns to Duval County. And while it's not a big drop-off, as most people would agree, it is still official now, and this is what teams will be able to prepare for. And I don't know if we see, the best of Minshew every week as this goes on. Hopefully Richardson doesn't need surgery. They seemed a little non-committal on saying that wasn't the case. Honestly, at this point in my head, I've just kind of resigned myself to the fact that he's going to miss the whole season, I guess.
Yeah, that's probably
God put him together loose. I mean, he just three games already he's been knocked out. Hopefully that's not a sign of things to come, and he just kind of had some bad luck. But that sucks because he was really fun.
Yeah. I mean, he's young. He's young.
Yeah.
His body's going to get more robusto.
This is a case of I've been really good at avoiding bets. I didn't get the Richardson price preseason. I missed the good number. I said I'll wait a few weeks, and then we had the injuries, so I didn't. And I said if he's out a couple weeks and he gets up to like 10, 12 to 1 on Rookie of the Year, maybe I'll get in. And I guess at this point, I'm happy that I don't have a Richardson ticket. I have some other losing tickets instead. I don't believe Jaden Reed is going to win Rookie of the Year, guys. But we gave it a try. So Minshew,
although
Jags,
A-Chain's probably out of the race now too. So we're down to three. I think we're down to three with Stroud, Bijan, and then Puka.
And
then there were three.
I didn't know what kind of adjustment to make, so I left it alone. I just left my Indy number where it is, and I have this as about a 5. So if you want to say it's a slight to mild downgrade based on some of the things Richardson could do, I guess I'm on market. Depends how you feel about this Jacksonville defense at this point. I don't know, what has this total done? I'm trying to look at the.
It's starting to tick down. I'm part of that. That general vibe. I played under 46 here, 45 and a half. Although it's a very, 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 very small move. Yeah.
This is fun. I don't know if he's a true sleeper pick to win the award. He'd have to have some big games, but he's been very good. I was a little worried that they didn't have a true slot guy, which was helpful for a young quarterback, but Downs has been great.
Yeah. So the Jags defense. Okay, I guess here's kind of the interesting handicap for this game. Jags spent 2 weeks in London. We all agree that we all agree that their decision, that not their decision, but their the situation that they were in was advantageous to them last week. There is possibility that it's disadvantageous to them this week, right? Like you got adjusted to Greenwich Mean Time. Now you go move back into Eastern Standard Time. My guess is that at 1 p.m. kickoff, it's probably just going to feel like an afternoon game for them. I don't think that you're really in a weird, why are we playing football right now? I should be sleeping, type of mindset. But I do think there's a possibility that the Jags offense is a little stuck in mud here, because you're getting some bodies back for the Colts. The Colts had some important players miss the last couple of weeks. I'm expecting the defense is going to be a little bit more in full strength here. Colts have already faced you once. They've seen some of your wrinkles. They kind of know what you want your plan A and B to be on offense. And the Jaguars spent 40 minutes on the field against the Bills. That is a long time to be out there running around. I think that the Jaguars still win this game. I think the Jaguars still cover this game. I think the Jaguars defense is going to be just fine. And I think they're going to throttle Gardner Minshew and company. You take away the rushing threat that Anthony Richardson brings, and you make Gardner Minshew beat you with the short passing attack to the wide receivers who you can cover. That's not a recipe for success. I think the Jaguars are going to keep the Colts well under 20 here, and I think they could probably, even with an offense that may look a little lethargic, and still get to 20. So I have lean Jaguars, played under, and probably going to use Jags in contests. Thoughts?
I agree with your points in the under.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't really seen even the game they won. I'm not super impressed with anything we've seen from the play calling for the Jags. Both of those.
It's a little weird, and also the tackle play and Minshew. Lawrence getting strip sacked and all that. Like, don't love it. Not that the pass rush for the Colts scares me really at all, but do you think the Jags are borderline top 10 defense? Tough to say. No, you don't think so.
I think that was more what we saw last week was more on the Bills.
Okay.
And I have Jacksonville kind of bang average to slightly below average in most defensive metrics. It's not good, but it's a little better than I'd hope. The Bills kind of did it to themselves early on. It's an okay defense. It could probably play well at home. But yeah, what we saw, the only thing that worries me about is the Colts did move the ball a lot. Obviously, we had that 750 damn yards in that game. And just couldn't get that over home.
There was some broken plays with Zach Moss scramble.
There were, but I think he might be good.
Okay.
It's been a couple times where it's like, shit, this guy is halfway decent, and even if he's not, they're starting to slowly work in a better running back. That's the only concern would be if it turns into a game state where the Colts have to get after it. They have some weapons and Downs and JT. You kind of hope this is just to grind it out. If you don't want anybody up by 2 scores here, you need both of these teams kind of going with the pace they've been going at. But I agree with you. Nothing for me on this one.
Okay. Okay. The Titans couldn't get a lick of pressure on Minshew when he was back there. He had all freaking day to operate, and even then his yards per attempt were pretty pedestrian. His air yards per pass attempt are very low, and the receivers that the Colts have out there kind of stink outside of Pittman when he's having a good day. I think the Colts, this is mostly I guess really I want to throw the Colts team total under into consideration for secret pod play at 20.5. I think that might be a fun one. Carolina, Miami. Best of luck to Carolina. No idea how you hang with this Dolphins team the way you're rostered, and
this is worse. This is a worse team than the Dolphins played last week. The Dolphins turned the ball over in the most incredulous and terrible spots and still covered that number. You'd have to give me 16.5 before I'd consider the Panthers. Not to say 13.5 on the Dolphins is a gift and everyone should lay it. There's something about a big number like that where teams aren't incentivized to cover a big number. A win's a win. So if it's a 10 point score late, that's a 2 possession game. They're just going to run the clock out. There's no incentive to cover the number for you. This isn't college where you got to please the boosters. So I'm not excited about either side of this. The Panthers are very much devoid of talent in a lot of spots. We haven't seen, a lot of bright spots from the young quarterback yet. Adam Thielen quietly is one of the best players somehow. It's been a rough hang so far. I mean, they lost to Minnesota. I'm kidding. Minnesota's actually kind of good, but this is a road game. Are we just doing the thing again where we do Dolphins second half blind?
It's not a bad idea.
They're going to be in the sun again. Go see
the problem is that Panthers all of a sudden have a little bit of garbage time spunk.
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming last week against the Lions. It's going to be it's going to be a warm one.
Probably if that's what happens without ARSB and Gibson.
Yeah,
I know H-Han is out and that hurts, but that's the other thing too. Drew, if you say we have a spunky garbage time team,
I was just on
a question for you.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Also, in theory, and we'll see if this even comes close to materializing, considering Frank Reich looked like he wanted to walk off a pier when he was doing media this week. In theory, the offense should get better as we go through the season, and they continue to figure out who they are and what they want to do. Miles Sanders is hurt. The offensive line sucks.
He doesn't sound like he wanted to draft that quarterback.
He doesn't sound like he wanted to work with Bryce Young. He doesn't sound like he knows how to work with Bryce Young. The evidence says he doesn't know how to work with Bryce Young. Realistically, I think there's a lot of reasons to doubt the Panthers will ever figure it out offensively this year, and this might be a 1-16 type of team. It's possible. The injuries they've sustained on defense are just brutal. The Panthers should be shopping Brian Burns for whatever they can get for him because they don't have their number 1 pick next year. And I think the Dolphins probably pick their number here. And the Dolphins might put it in a bag too. If the Dolphins have a 31-0 lead, they may run this thing out because they got Philly on deck. They got to go up to.
This is one of those 41-0 unders, so it just kills your heart. Maybe a first
41-7 stays under.
First half over doesn't have as much garbage time, but Man, I was really close. The first thing off my card, because I want to point out they're not all losers that I leave off, but the first thing off my card was Miami first half team total over. It was like 15 and a half. And when they were driving to go up 21-0 and they're at the goal line, I'm like, well, that was dumb. And then he throws the pick six. And I'm like, but I do believe they got to 17 at least by half. I think they went down and scored again. I'll have to double check that. I think it would have covered, but maybe something along those lines. Miami first half team total. Miami just the over, 23 and a half in the first half, over 24, whatever it is.
Yeah,
I don't
they
know.
scored
I'm
17
probably
in the first
avoiding this
half.
game.
They got a 40-yard field goal as time expired in the half. After the interception return. Yeah. All right. No more thoughts there. Excited to break down Dolphinos Eagles in primetime next week. Tampa, Detroit. Boy, oh boy. I've gone around and around and around and around on this one. I think the Lions are a bet. The over might be a bet. Baker Mayfield might suck if the Lions can get a pass rush, though. I think I don't have a solid read. I've come at this so many different ways. But Buccaneers are coming off of a bye. Buccaneers are healthy. Lions pretty healthy also. Where do you stand? How is there a way in here?
Yeah, St. Brown's trending in. That's obviously important. Road game in Miami. Again, I'm close. I'm on market here. Looking at kind of the edge cases. Is if we don't get super good news on all the defenders for Tampa, that helps Detroit. Obviously, that helps the over. It depends how you feel about the protection and Baker Mayfield as sack avoidance goes for this over, I suppose, or for if you're looking at backing the Bucs in any which way, shape, or form. It's been a decent pass rush, and the weakness is always going to be the defense, probably a little more in the second and third levels, but it's been okay. Detroit's good. Detroit's just a really good team. It's just not a spot that I'm not comfortable backing them yet on the road as a favorite in a kind of a tough spot like this. It's a team, an experienced team. There's a lot of players that on this team that won a Super Bowl a couple of years. It's an experienced team with an experienced coaching staff, despite how we feel about bowls. At home, off a bye, like there's just no reason for me to lay points on the road with Detroit yet.
Okay.
If I wanted to bet Detroit, and there were some injury concerns on the Tampa defense, as we get through the week and we hear all the updates, it would probably be just like team total over. There's a good case for them to score. If this game,
Tampa?
No, the Lions.
Lions. Oh, sorry, Lions.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. How about Tampa scoring? Is the Lions defense top 10?
Again, I think it depends. If Baker's pressured and hit, it's a problem, right? But the Lions have been good against the run somehow. A lot of it is just coming from that front. Like it's been a lot better up front than I thought we'd get. I have some weird thought. I almost tweeted this out. I didn't want people to get mad though, but because Jared Goff has been so good in this system. But why are we doing this with Brock Purdy, but we can't do it with Jared Goff? Like, is Ben Johnson wasted on Jared Goff? Like, can you imagine? He's a really good offensive. These schemes are elite.
If he's wasted on Jared Goff, it's only for about 2.5 more months.
Yeah, we don't have much longer than that. Though. It'll be crazy. That'll be one of the most interesting things about next year is how the Lions offense looks without Ben Johnson. Yeah, and just because I'm a Ben Johnson guy, Lions team total over it's written down. It's not bad yet.
Okay.
I want some bad news about like Dean or some other secondary pieces.
So that's the thing is in the back of my head, I feel like I don't really remember if there were good examples of this or if I'm misremembering Stafford versus Tampa, but I feel like the aggressive pass rush blitz stuff that Tampa likes to do against McVay, Goff, Johnson style of offense, particularly with a full strength offensive line, just never seems to work. Like it just always gets cooked. And so I agree with you. The Lions probably get their points in this one. And the question is just, does Baker answer? And I don't know that Baker answers because I still don't trust him against a good pass rush. And for what it's worth, Hutchinson looks
Mike Evans did not practice today.
That's true.
It is awful hard to make a case for this against this front if you don't have Mike Evans as well.
Yeah, and against this front and with an offensive line in Tampa that might still not have any good players, like that. Like Tristan Wirfs is grading well, but the rest of that O line is a huge liability potentially for Tampa. I'm probably, again, could be looking too far ahead into the future because I want to back Tampa next week against the Falcons, and I'm hoping that they lose this game in embarrassing fashion and you get a good price there. But the Matt Filer, Robert Hainsey, Cody Mauch interior looks like it could get exposed against Hutchinson and McNeil. So I think Baker's probably in trouble here, which means Lions probably cover the 3. I'm probably just going to use them in contests, though. I don't think I really have a constitution to back them at this current price 3 because it's juicy, right? 3 minus 20. It's 3 minus 20. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, how do you say the guy's name? The one tackle was limited.
Luke
as well,
Goedeke.
Goedeke. There we go. I knew I didn't have it right. I just couldn't put the pronunciation. He was limited. That's an issue too. We'll see. Hutch has been very good lately. Lean Lions, no bet for me.
Okay.
Here's a game I don't want to talk about.
Yeah, the Bill Belichick takes on his former protege, Josh McDaniels, who's coming off the stupidest decision that any coach has made this year on Monday Night Football and didn't pay a consequence for it, which kind of sucked. Thankfully, Green Bay second half gets home, so I kind of didn't care. But the Raiders were awful lucky to win that game. And I don't really know why they're 3-point favorites, besides the fact that the Patriots offense looks like they would have a tough time scoring against a Pee-wee team right now. Max Crosby might be just enough to keep the Patriots offense at bay here. And maybe the Raiders secondary isn't as bad as I've been accusing them of being. Technically, I think the Raiders are still a below average defense. But I mean, so much needs to change for the Patriots offense to look good all of a sudden. I don't even know where to start.
I might just bet this under. I really haven't been impressed with Garoppolo in this environment, even with Adams. They still have. There's been injuries to this Patriots defense, but they weren't nearly as bad again as we thought. If you look at that final score, like it's definitely a team that has some juice. I know it's on the road, but man, I guess that's what we have going for it. It's a road game. We're missing Gonzo and who tore his bicep? Juden.
Yeah, Juden.
Like you're missing
Matthew
some people. Judon.
Yeah, those guys matter.
Yeah, I'm close on this under.
You know what? I'm fine with the under too. I might play this actually. Okay, so let's.
I just thought it would
this.
be 40. Yeah. I didn't understand why it was this high. What we saw from the Raiders against a kind of a shit ass defense, like it wasn't great. Green Bay's defense is not good.
No. Let me ask you this: Devontae Adams is obviously not right. The Raiders, Josh Jacobs isn't going to just come back to be back to the guy he was. This is a rematch of the game that the Patriots lost with their ridiculous. Was it Jacoby Myers who threw the lateral that the Raiders got and ran back for a touchdown? Now he's on the Raiders. I forget who threw the lateral that got that lost the Patriots that game in Vegas last year. Yeah. This is the scene of the crime, actually. Didn't it happen in Vegas?
I feel like it was Jacoby. God, remember I looked it up on Wikipedia and there were so many names for it.
Yeah. It was at the Raiders last year, and it was a Chandler Jones fumble return. Whoa. Let me see.
The Wikipedia article is listed, if you're looking for it, the lunatic lateral.
Yeah, it was Jacoby Myers lateral, lunatic lateral.
Collateral damage is my favorite.
Oh, that's a good one. You know what the weirdest thing about collateral damage was?
Patriots are horrid, and I considered backing the Raiders here. I just didn't see enough of them. Yeah. I didn't see enough from them last week to really make me consider it even at 3. I
don't have anything else to say about this game, but here's some random thoughts. The fact that Bill Belichick let Jacoby Myers walk out the door is probably a sign that he's very good, because Bill Belichick does not know how to evaluate a wide receiver. The fact that Bill Belichick bought in Juju Smith-Schuster and he has sucked, we should have seen coming. The fact that Belichick, he probably cares more about his special teams being shitty this year than he does about the offense being shitty. If we really grilled him, he's probably up late at night, like trying to figure out why are we the worst special teams team in the NFL. And I think this idea that he's going to get forced out or he's going to walk away, Kraft is not going to cut ties with Belichick forcefully. That is not happening. There's probably at least another year of this, and they may draft another quarterback, because in the offseason, I don't think it was smoke, the stuff about trying to move off of Mac Jones.
No, they don't like him.
They don't like him. And the fact that Belichick is just consistently giving you a vote of confidence and they're just letting him dangle out there sucking, like it feels a little bit like intentional almost. Like they may be in the mindset of, we're going to lose. Fuck it. We'll just let Mac Jones just get embarrassed every week and let him take some of the, let him be the bearer of our failure more than me. Like, I think that might be what we ultimately get to. And I don't think I'm being conspiracy-y, because I mean, the smoke around Belichick's and Jones's relationship in the offseason, I don't believe that was people making shit up or lying to us.
No. Well, so it's clear. You can see it sometimes on the sidelines. Like, nobody likes each other. It's rough. And it's crazy that the main, if you had to like boil down every one of our season previews to one point, the Patriots one was, hey, we have an offensive coordinator. Like, there's a person who has called offensive plays before who will be coordinating this offense. It's going to get better. Fuck, it hasn't. Like, there's so many teams. It's crazy how many teams have like 5 receivers you've heard of, and none of them are good, and none of them are giving you anything. The Patriots are obviously one. They invested heavily in some tight ends, aren't using them right. They're not getting much out of the running backs. Just nothing. And obviously, it all comes down to they have a quarterback who's not very good.
Yeah,
who's been benched for game getting out of hand a couple weeks in a row, and they're going back to him. Somebody had a really good comment in the Discord, because Belichick's comment exactly when asked is like, no, we're not going to be changing anything.
We're not making any changes.
We're not making any changes. And somebody in the Discord said, isn't this Belichick's answer to like every question?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, fair enough. But it used to work, because not making any changes meant status quo of Brady.
I'm going to make one. This game sucks so much, and I just want to make one. I'm going to make one stupid bet. You ready for it, Andy?
Yes.
I'm going to bet Raiders minus alt, the biggest I can find.
Like just a repeat of last
minus
week. Raiders,
17, minus 17 and a half, minus 12, but the biggest number I can find, minus Raiders, under the auspice of Belichick gave McDaniels the game plan so that he can continue to embarrass Mac Jones on purpose.
This is one of your best tin hats ever.
Well, Belichick hates him, and he's out there like, yo, nope, he's game was out of hand.
Who do I hate less, McDaniels or?
Yeah, I don't think he hates McDaniels. I think there's good blood there. He definitely doesn't hate Jimmy G. We know that. Belichick's got a super hard on for Jimmy G.
Who does? That kid's gorgeous. All right, I'll probably take this under.
Okay.
I'm going to have to. Weather's obviously going to be fine. But
Arizona versus the Rams. This is the only one that I think is still bettable of the sides that I have a position on this week, and it is at Rams minus 7. The case here is kind of interesting, and I want to hear you tell me if I'm way off base here. 3 weeks in a row, the Rams have faded hard in the second half of games. Against the Bengals, we saw it firsthand. Against the Colts, where they almost lost an insurmountable lead. And then against the Eagles, where they completely no-showed. Like just
they didn't get to
no-show
play in the
second
second half. They just they held the ball above their little brother.
Yeah,
Oh, you can't have it.
Yeah. I think that is explainable on the basis of you have a very young team that had some super aggressive travel and rest issues through the first quarter of the season. I think all that caught up to them in the second half of the Eagles game, and that was basically why they had no chance there. Now they get a full week at home, no travel, normal rest. Young team, I think, is going to be primed to absolutely kick ass. And you have a passing attack that thrives against exactly this type of coverage that Gannon likes to run, with now 3 very good weapons in Kupp, Puka, and Atwell. I think the Rams pick their score here, and I think Aaron Donald, who has been quietly very good this season, but against some very good O-lines, finally gets his chance to be an absolute game wrecker. Josh Dobbs is not the answer. Cardinals lose the guy they wanted to lean on in John Connor, and I don't really know how you go score for score with the Rams team that's going to be rested and ready. So anything I have said way off base in terms of backing a Rams at this type of price, considering a couple of weeks ago I thought this Rams defense might be all-time bad.
It's still not great, and I do think there's definite opportunity for some Rams garbage time, but Jesus Christ, what we saw from the outside coverage against Chase,
It was bad.
We've seen this offense is pretty good, and if Kupp's 100%, you basically have 2 of them now. And Atwell's been good. Atwell's been a nice little deep threat. Like you have a bunch of quick guys, and you have a coverage unit that obviously didn't handle that well last week. Like Rams very much beating the shit out of them in the first half, and then this game going over in garbage time. Kind of is where I'm at here. Like it's a big number for a team that maybe a little hard to trust. We've seen some of these second halves, but it's a home game against a really bad defense who I'm dangerously close to pulling their frisky tag.
Yep, me too. I mean, Stafford looks healthy as hell, and he's got a 6 set of fucking receivers. So, yeah, this feels like a classic. Like Rams just pound them.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have made good cases for this over as well. It's just it was kind of a surprise what we're getting out of this defense, but it's still not great. It's not. Some of it's been opponent too. There's been some weird games. The divisional games have had so far been tough. So, yeah, Rams. Somebody's saying Rams first half team total over 13.5. God, that kind of checks out too.
Yeah.
What's that leave us with? Philly at the Jets.
Who's this Divine Comedy guy saying the Seahawks secondary sucks? I don't think anyone has said that. No. Seahawks secondary is good.
They've been beat. They've been beat to shit. They've been missing players up and down all year.
The Seahawks?
Yeah. The secondary?
Yeah. And I mean, Devin Witherspoon didn't even play the first couple of weeks, but
and Adams missed some time. They've had they've had like 3 or 4 injuries back there. Like they've had to shuffle shit around to make it work.
I can't even
really
imagine.
good against the Giants team, but
all right.
Just a turd. Philly at the Jets. Eagles.
Yeah.
I think it's Dante. That's funny.
Eagles are 7-point favorites now. This has moved up. We kind of thought this was going there on Sunday. For total of 41. This is basically saying that the Jets offense is going to be a non-factor. That's fine. I don't know why I am not more excited about playing the Eagles here, but the Jets defense is just they've stepped up to the plate in a bunch of spots this year. Like they really are playing hard. And I know that they're missing some important pieces, and I know that it didn't really matter against the Broncos. And maybe that's a Broncos thing more than it is a Jets thing. And maybe that ultimately is like why it's a more competitive game. But like holding Mahomes to 23, even though it probably should have been 30, I get it. That was pretty good. The Cowboys scored some defensive touchdowns to get to 30. The Bills only got to 16. The Patriots obviously are terrible. They only got to 15, and then you held the Broncos to 21, and some of that was influenced by some short field. So I'm not really sure how great I feel about the Eagles, who are struggling a bit in the red zone, just coming out and ripping shit here. And I also don't know if this isn't just a, hey, let's get out of here with the win type of attitude for them. Because again, they have a pretty important game next week at home against the Dolphins in primetime. So I don't know. Road game, a road favorite out of conference. I hate laying points in those spots. Hate it. So easy skip.
That's another one too, where I don't know how good of a read we have on the run defense for Philly, as they've been in so many positive game states where teams have had to throw against them.
That's a very good point.
It's tough to tell, like, because what we saw from Breece Hall, obviously it was against a team who's really been struggling on defense and struggling from a run defensive standpoint as well. But I don't really know what I have for the Eagles at this point. If Breece looks 80% of as good as he looked last week, like, the Jets can stay in this game, I'm pretty much on market. I don't know what to do with this total. A couple of defenses I trust. A couple of defenses I think they can get some pressure. So we'll see. Eagles, and again, if the Eagles are up 14-4, 14-7, 14-3 at half, I'm not feeling great about that second half over, that any pregame over getting there. Like, that what we saw was just a masterclass last week of just running the clock out. My God. It was beautiful. So if it's another Eagles lead, I think it's like Eagles in the under, like parlayed in these second halves.
Okay. I think that's a fun way to approach it. I just don't I don't really know how to grade the Jets anymore. I hope they get shut out. I need them to stop scoring 31 points with some defensive touchdowns. That's hurting me. Giants and Bills. The Bills,
what our play-in is this one for the for profit exchange?
No, what is it?
It is the big three, not Josh Allen, but the other big three. It is Cook, Diggs, and Gabe Davis. Total rushing and receiving versus Giants total offensive yards. Because when I went to like, the Giants are averaging like 250 a game.
It's bad.
And I looked at like what Diggs and Davis, I should get $150 out of that, and Cook maybe not. So Giants should be favored there, but I don't know by how much. And I don't mind a dog price on the Bills big three. So yeah, the profit exchange market for the Sunday night game will be those guys versus the Giants' entire offense.
So I like the Giants' entire offense, and I'm actually going to make a really absurd case here. I like Giants team total over as the secret pod play at 14.
What is it?
14 and a half.
I'm scared to do that. What if we find out it's Tyrod?
Yeah, I mean, that's not ideal.
It's not fucking ideal at all.
It's not ideal. No, I think I am like every alarm bell possible like ripping in my head about this Bills defense. Forget about the fact that they traveled internationally last week and got their asses kicked. Forget about the fact that they were on the field for 40 minutes in that game. Forget about the fact that they are not great statistically when you take away turnovers this year. They have lost now their probably three most important players. Daquan Jones, Matt Milano, and Trey White were the best players so far this year. At all three levels. That sucks. Rough. That is rough. And I don't know that the Giants are just going to turn the corner and snap their finger and have an offensive performance finally out of nowhere. And I don't know that Daniel Jones is going to play, but I want some kind of exposure to the idea that the Bills just can't play defense anymore with the players they have available, and or that they're just going to be bad in this spot because it's a brutal spot. They played at 9 a.m. last Sunday.
Yeah.
And defense was on the field for 40 minutes. And now they got to play a primetime game the next week with half.
It's not great. I mean,
their best players.
If there was a soft landing, it's still the Giants offense. I can't get behind that one with.
Okay.
It's like 50-50. It's Tyrod, man.
Do we go with the weird body clock thing and just take the Giants plus points then?
I thought about it.
Just fuck this game into eternity.
Yeah, it's a game. We'll bet the second half. Scott Norwood revenge game. I like that.
Okay.
Dable revenge game. Tyrod revenge game. It is such a bad offensive line, though.
Oh my god!
It is in a triple revenge spot like this. I don't know if you want to be involved in a team total. It's such a bad offensive line right now. It's going to get like Tyrod is hoping he doesn't have to play. He doesn't want to get hit.
It's so bad. Everybody, it's just everybody on this defense is hurt. On top of the guys we know are not going to go. I mean, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
maybe it doesn't matter.
This is a sit back and see what the fuck we have for depth at in Buffalo at this point. See if they can, they have a head coach that I think can probably fix some of these things. Might not have enough time before this game to do it. But we'll find out because you lost some important pieces. It's crazy that you can lose like your three best. That's how bad the Giants offense are right now. You lost your three most important defenders and you're laying 2 touchdowns, north of 2 touchdowns some places.
Yeah, you're going to be on the road. You're going to be on the road next week at the Patriots and you're going to be laying 10 points probably. Or more if the Vikings beat the shit out of, or the Raiders beat the shit out of them.
Yeah, if I don't change anything in New England, 9.5. I make it 9.1.
What's the look ahead? Out of curiosity, did you see it?
No, I didn't peek at those. Somebody let me know.
8.5 right now.
Okay, I'm a little higher then. Yeah, good season, Minnesota Twins. They couldn't win a home game. Couldn't win a home game. I don't think they have a very good. I bet the Astros. you gotta take your hat. Now that I'm a fan, you gotta take some happiness hedge, and I think Dogma and Barry were on it too. So
yeah,
I got a plus money price on the stupid Astros.
Hey, at least they won a game. That's better than the Dodgers. Dodgers about to get swept. Yes, 2-0.
Jeez, Dodgers.
They didn't win.
Buffalo's look ahead was -7.
The Dodgers are going to win as many playoff games as the Giants this year.
Woof.
Yikes.
Brooms out in the deserts. That's crazy. So yeah, I don't. I get where you're coming from, but I'd love to go somewhere else that doesn't involve.
Okay, Taylor. So secret pod play. You got a thought? Final answer.
What was the other one? What was the other one we circled? You had one circled that I liked.
I was kicking around Colts under.
I was kicking around Minnesota over, but I think that's a little high.
Minnesota over was 23.5.
You want to just do Patriots under again? Should that be our shtick? We do it every
19.5. It's 19.5
on the road.
Patriots team total under.
Patriots team total under. Until
that's more fun than the alt spread I was talking about. And you wanted to play that under anyway. Yeah.
Patriots team total unders until morale improves. My goodness.
Belichick sabotaging Mac Jones in actual filmed games until morale improves.
Bailey Zappi coming in early because Max Crosby has injured Mac Jones.
He's decapitated him.
Mickey Hill. Good point by Mickey Hill. It's kind of just the Raiders' biggest weaknesses are not exploitable.
Very right. That's right.
We don't have the offensive weapons to do even the Packers didn't look all that great. I do wonder if this Raiders defense is shoring up a little more in the secondary than we gave them credit for.
Possible.
I listened to one quick point on Von Miller, and I'm trying to think of the podcast I listened to. I was way behind on podcasts, and I just went for a long walk on Monday and set it to like 1.5x and tried to listen to a bunch. So I forget who said it. But they talked about Von Miller and his usage in that game. And I'd have to go look at his snap counts. But there was a rumor that he had just never – it might have been Chernoff. He had never played an overseas game, and he wanted to add that to the resume. So he kind of bagged his way onto the roster.
Oh, I didn't
and then
hear
he
that.
didn't. I don't know if that was
Like he
true.
wasn't
It
ready. Like he wasn't ready, or
he's still not ready to go.
oh,
Like Von Miller might
Mm.
still not be healthy and ready to go. He got to play in that one because it's something he really wanted to do, and they like him as it's a longtime veteran.
Oh wow.
So Jesus, like I don't know if there's any truth to that. We'll find out.
Okay,
I think it was Payne. Yeah, Payne Insider said it.
Okay. Final call, just because we're not going to get there on this pod, but Monday Night Football. Justin Herbert plus money at home.
I'm leaning just straight up Chargers.
Straight up.
If you made me bet that, straight up power Chargers for sure.
And can I parlay Chargers win with McCarthy first coach fired?
I don't think a lot of places let you do that, but we'll find out.
We talked about it a couple weeks ago at the end of the pod, man.
Yeah, I bet him coach of the year by accident.
No.
Remember,
No.
I didn't. I screwed up. I tried to bet him first coach fired. I bet him coach of the year instead. But then he won the game. It's like, wow, they both lose. I don't know. I don't know what. Speaking of, you want to know something funny? Because I did a little horse collar research today after I couldn't get that fucking horse collar thing out of my head. I had to write.
Yeah,
it
sure.
I watched the Roy Williams tackles the year before they outlawed it. My God, he 4 people broke their legs the year before they outlawed it on those kind of tackles. Roy Williams was responsible for 2 of them himself, or 3? No, I think 6 people had injuries. Roy Williams caused 4 of them. 2 in the same game on horse collars. Like it was like his go-to move. It was the Terrell Owens one was sad because he was at the peak of his powers too.
Yeah.
But the best part was Jerry Jones voted against it. he's just like, I don't see how they'll be able to call it. Like it just seems like it's a little too ambiguous. I think 4 other teams voted against it.
More fun trivia. Roy Williams was also the first player suspended for repeated violations of the rule.
Well, yeah, no, like right away the next year, he just kept doing it.
Oh my God.
It was such a move for him.
He hurt 4 people in 2004. Oh my God.
Yeah. 2 in the same game. It was, go back and watch some of those. It was pretty rough.
Rich McKay. I really hate the fact that the rule is kind of being named for one player.
I know they were calling it the Roy Williams rule. Like he's like, I feel bad, but
kind of feel bad. We're singling out one guy.
Kind of the guy who's doing it. It was like the tush push, man. It's like other teams are doing the horse collar, but Roy Williams is better at it.
Oh man,
I think the Diamondbacks just hit like 2 more home runs.
4 major incidents. Jesus. It's 4-0. The Dodgers are not playing well. And actually, you know what, Andy? File away for next year. Baseball teams that clinch early, they suck. I can't really put my finger on why. But if you clinch in September, you apparently have no juice in October.
Congrats to Connor Bedard for scoring his first NHL goal. That was pretty fun.
Was this regular season NHL?
Yeah, it's like his second game already, I guess.
What?
4 solo home runs. Yeah. Well, I'm excited to be done with baseball for the year now. I'll watch the World Series.
Okay. All right. Well.
All right. Call it a pod. If you guys have anything, obviously hit us up on Twitter, hit us in the Discord. If you think of anything, if you have some listening to this later and you have some nugget that we missed, we're on Twitter, we're on the Discord. You can leave a comment on this YouTube. It'll send a little message to somebody. Hit the thumbs up if you can, if you're in the YouTube chat. Really appreciate that. Really helps us out. It helps with the algo. I'll get to Friday. If you're not subscribed to the newsletter, you can find that on my social. It's on my link tree there. I'll go through all my favorite. I will rank my Wong legs this week. Wong legs were like undefeated last week, so ranking them was kind of an exercise in futility. But I still liked the ones better than the other ones. So Wong legs this week are going to be kind of weird, and there's going to be a definite case to be doing the secondary market or the secondary Wong of the
get across 10 and 7.
Like the Kansas City one might get thrown in there. There'll be a Discord link at Deep Dive Pod on Twitter. I think it's the pinned comment, guys.
Can I guess what your least favorite one is going to be? Is it going to be Chicago?
Honestly, that's probably high up if I looked at my pricing. That's a
Seattle.
It's a game I lean in the over. I haven't ranked them yet. Probably, honestly, my least favorite one will probably be Washington.
Washington, yeah, that's a low total though.
I know it's a low total, but I don't love it. Houston is a good one, I think. San Fran, if we get the right price. Rams, maybe if they get the right price.
Chargers is a great one.
Chargers is a bang.
Okay. All right. Cool.
All right. See you guys.
Oh, for the Blackhawks, we gotta do the song.